send it over to
dangerous.
the governor.
There will be debris in the air and flooding powerful enough to move cars around. So please do not be outside during this storm. If you're in those Southwest Florida counties, you need to be sheltering in place. Don't forget that Ian will produce hurricane strength winds and massive floodings, not just where it makes the initial landfall, but throughout the state of Florida. So central and northeast Florida will also feel impacts. Now, while most people in the evacuations did leave, there were some that chose to stay. I was speaking with the sheriff down in Charlotte County, and while most people did leave, they had a small number of people that just wanted to hunker down. And at the end of the day, that's a decision they made, knowing that they had the ability to evacuate and knowing what the stakes were. Nevertheless, life safety operations will commence as soon as it's safe, to be able to identify people who may be in harm's way and who are in need of assistance. And Kevin will say, I'll say a little bit about that, but Kevin will say more. We'll also hear from FWC about their efforts that they have staged and ready to go. If you are still in Southwest Florida, just please stay inside until the storm passes. It may appear to be calm at some point. You may just be in the eye of the storm, and the backside of that will get very, very nasty. The storm is expected to move across central Florida and exit Daytona Beach sometime on Thursday. We've already seen around the state tornado warnings issued far from where the hurricane is entering in Southwest Florida, and those warnings will likely to continue until this finally leaves our state. So even if you're not in the direct path of the storm, you need to take all tornado warnings seriously, and you need to take appropriate precautions if that is happening in your area. The Florida Department of Transportation has just announced that Fort Drum, Canoe Creek, and Turkey Lake service plazas on Florida Turnpike are now closed. Obviously, they will try to get those open as soon as they can. We have 200,000 power outages reported throughout the state of Florida, but outside of Southwest Florida, crews are working to quickly restore power. Of course, 200,000 is a drop in the bucket for what's going to happen over the next 24 to 48 hours. There's going to be widespread power outages, particularly in Southwest Florida. We have over 100 portable cell towers ready to be deployed into the area once it is safe to enter. Once the storm is past and it is safe to go outside, you still need to be cautious. Avoid down power lines, standing water. Stay clear of downed trees, and don't drive in standing water. And please, if you're going to use a generator for your home, do not allow that to be inside. The exhaust needs to be outdoors. Stay out of the way of emergency crews, out of flood waters, and away from all downed power lines. Stay off the roads. There's no need to rush back. You're going to have a massive surge of people that are going to be going in to provide, of course, life safety assistance for those who may have stayed in some of the more hazardous areas. You're also going to have power workers going in. We were just in Lake City. I was thinking we had all these power workers, these line workers from all these different states. I saw them from Texas, Louisiana, all these different places staged. We have a massive, massive mobilization. Their job is to get in there and help to restore services. You're also going to have folks bringing in things like food and water. So there's no need to rush back in. There's going to be a lot going on in the immediate aftermath, and a lot of people's safety depends on that. If you're on the roads, you're putting yourself in danger and limiting the ability of emergency crews to restore power and clean debris. Now, we don't know how much debris is going to be, but there's going to be debris, and that's going to make it very difficult to navigate some of these roads. That's why FDOT's immediate mission is to clear the roadways so that people are able to go in and access that to be able to help deliver services for people. In 2019, we were projected to be hit by Hurricane Dorian, which was a Category 5 storm. Fortunately, at the last minute, it took a northward turn and missed the coast, but we did have a really massive mobilization. This mobilization's exceeded that. This is a really, really significant effort, county level, state level, federal support. It's really been impressive to see. Director Guthrie has asked for additional airlift, hoists, and high water vehicles from DOD in coordination with FEMA. The Secretary of Defense has approved Florida's request for dual status of our National Guard forces under Title 10 to provide additional forces, which we very much appreciate. We will also be submitting momentarily a major disaster declaration for all 67 counties, and will request that the federal government reimburse 100% of the upfront costs for the first 60 days to ensure that we can quickly recover and move forward into the response and recovery part. And if you think about this storm, we had storms that have been as strong as this hit Florida? Michael, Hurricane Andrew, Labor Day hurricane many decades ago. Yes. Have we had big storms that left a lot of water and flooding? We had Irma recently. This is really bringing both to the table. I mean, you're going to have massive amount of power hitting that coastline with really strong winds. That is going to do a lot of wind damage, but you also have the storm is so massive, and people are kind of comparing this to the track that Charlie took in 2004, because Charlie was like this, was expected to hit Tampa Bay. It turned and ended up hitting Southwest Florida. Charlie was strong, but it was a fraction of the size of what we're dealing with here with Hurricane Ian. So the effects of this are going to be broad, and we appreciate the Biden administration's consideration for the people of Florida during this time of need. When I was in Lake City, you had massive numbers of linemen, but you have those staged all over the state. There's now over 42,000 linemen and other personnel ready to restore power in 30 different areas across the state. And those linemen and other associated personnel hail from, of course, many from Florida, but from 27 different states. Of course, our Department of Transportation does have 1,200 personnel on standby to perform cut and toss operations, understanding how important it is to get those roadways clear as soon as possible. Supplies will be brought in by plane, boat, and by high water vehicle. Airports in Southwest Florida do have teams behind, and they are going to work to clear those runways as soon as the storm has passed. We appreciate the Florida National Guard's really impressive mobilization of over 5,000 folks, as well as 2,000 additional guardsmen from other states. They have 9 Chinook helicopters ready to go, and additional 22 helicopters will be coming in after landfall that will be here within the next 24 hours. Kevin will talk a little bit more about this, but we have the 5 urban search and rescue teams. You'll hear from FWC about what they're doing, high water vehicles from Florida Highway Patrol, and of course our Coast Guard partners. There is going to be a massive effort as soon as it passes Southwest Florida to be able to get out, recon the area, and identify areas where there may be a need of rescue services. And some of these counties obviously know where residents decided to hunker down in, so they're going to be looking there first. But this is going to be really important to be able to get, I think in Hurricane Michael, I mean, it took a few days to be able to get into Mexico Beach. We have the air assets to be able to recon and know where the response efforts need to go. And so in total, we have nearly 250 aircraft, more than 1,600 high water vehicles, and more than 300 boats of all drafts and sizes, including 250 already in the major impacted areas and nearly 50 that are staged and ready to come in as needed. These include smaller rescue-oriented boats, airboats, and larger boats that will be delivering supplies by water if need be. I want to thank the 26 states that have sent us support, including Tennessee, Virginia, Montana, New York, Colorado, Indiana, New Jersey, and Georgia. I just spoke with Kay Ivey from Alabama, and she's supporting sending some Black Hawk helicopters down to help. Governor Bill Lee in Tennessee fast-tracked a request that we had from Tennessee. We appreciate that. I was also just able to speak with John Bell Edwards from Louisiana. They've helped us, but he said, hey, we've got a lot of experience in hurricanes recently, so these guys are good. Ask us. We want to send more. And so we really appreciate that consideration, and if we need that, we certainly will do that. We also understand that people that are displaced are going to need assistance. So the Department of Economic Opportunity has already deployed funding and guidance through community action agencies to help Floridians in need of short-term support like utilities, hotel bills, and transportation if they have been displaced by this storm. Please continue to monitor local reports, weather reports. Be very cautious about going out into hazardous conditions. And then once the storm passes your area, just make sure that you're very careful, because there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of hazards that are going to be down on the ground. I know there's a lot of people that have reached out. First of all, I want to say thanks. A lot of people have offered thoughts and prayers for the folks that are in the eye of this storm, and that means a lot to us. There's also people that want to be able to do their part, and so I've directed Volunteer Florida to activate the Florida Disaster Fund, where people can donate. It's much better to donate financially rather than sending items. We have everything we need in terms of the immediate response needs, but there will be thousands of Floridians who will need help rebuilding. And to contribute to the disaster fund, you can visit www.floridadisasterfund.org or text disaster to 20222. Again, that's text disaster to 20222. For those who want to come volunteer, we have an official volunteer portal at Volunteer Florida, and that's at www.volunteerflorida.org, www.volunteerflorida.org, and you can look to see of the volunteer opportunities. This is going to be a rough patch here for the rest of today and into tomorrow. But we understand how significant this storm is. Yes, there'll be an immediate response. Yes, there will be things that happen with recovery. Eventually, there won't be much media attention on this as the weeks and months go on. But we understand a storm of this magnitude is going to require an effort over an extended period of time. Those are good folks down in Southwest Florida. They've got really great, thriving communities. This is not anything anyone wants to deal with. It's not something we certainly ask for, but we're going to step up. We're going to be there for folks, and we're going to make sure that folks get back on their feet, and Southwest Florida comes back better than ever. Okay.